I was asked, had I ever seen a climate like this before? And I said, no, I have not. But I've studied about climates like this. And I reminded folks then that Adolf Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany. And he went about the business of discrediting institutions to the point that people bought into his stuff. To allow anybody to discredit the press, discredit the military, to discredit our leadership both in the Congress and outside, we are asking for dire consequences. And I think it's time for the Congress, House and Senate, to grow spines and do what is necessary to protect this democracy. This man and his family are the greatest threats to democracy of my lifetime.
That was third-ranking House Democrat South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn yesterday, speaking about comments he made just before Donald Trump's rise to the White House. Meanwhile, another battle that continues to play out. Last hour, I read President Trump's latest tweet aimed at George Conway. It was nuts. It's just he wrote this: George Conway, often referred to as Mr. KellyAnne Conway by those who know him, is very jealous of his wife's success and angry, didn't give him a job, barely know him. And at the end, he says he's a stone-cold loser and husband from hell. Conway, who has raised repeated concerns about the president's mental health and, quote, narcissistic personality disorder, responded, simply writing this: you are nuts. Okay. Joining us now, Vice President and Director of Government. Joe has a column in the Washington Post this morning. It's #1 on the site, so it's heavily read. No, but it's because it touches on what we're seeing happening here and how troubled so many are. I disagreed with Obama, but what Trump has done makes those differences insignificant. He writes in part this: last week's slaughter of Muslims in New Zealand was allegedly committed by a fascist who claimed to draw inspiration from President Trump, among others. It was the latest in a long line of tragedies that our president failed to clearly condemn. After the 2017 riots in Charlottesville, Trump proclaimed a moral equivalence between neo-Nazis and their opponents. Following the killings in Christchurch, the president dismissed the threat of white supremacy while claiming the rising tide of violence coming from the far right was limited to a few troublemakers with very serious problems. That's why any policy differences I had with Obama now seem so insignificant. Americans who still have faith in the upward arc of Martin Luther King's moral universe should be grateful for Obama's presidency and the way his election exposed the white racism that is still at large in our land. If changing the Constitution and re-electing Obama 2 more times would break the fever that now ravages Trump's Washington, I would cheerfully champion the passage of that constitutional amendment, slap a hope and change sticker on my shirt, and race to the nearest voting booth to support the man historians will remember as the most significant president since Abraham Lincoln.
I had to wait till my mom passed away to write that.
Yeah, you did.
And yes, my dad. They're up in heaven going, what the hell?
But we're up against the reality of what really exists in America now.
Well, so